This was an interesting topic, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't get to do much research, but I can pretty much be a therapist.
Right. I got a little bit of something, but not much. It's just kind of like, yeah. Somebody had talked about it. Oh, we're live. Hello, hello, hello. Great people. Thank you
Wow.
for chiming in with us. Come on in the room, like, share, invite your friends to come in as we talk about this topic that I think that we all kind of have to encounter. Navigating how to navigate toxic relationships. Um, in general, but specifically in families, because that's hard
Yeah,
to navigate for some people.
it
We actually
is.
want to ask about that. And okay, I see somebody's on here. There we
Be a
go.
therapist.
Right. Specifically. Okay, I just need to. All right, so we had someone to ask about that topic, and so here we are talking about that topic. Um, I don't know if Sharita's watching. She had a topic, and we'll talk about that as well on a different day. But I want to acknowledge that because she had a topic, and we had not got a chance to talk about it. But today we're going to talk about how to navigate toxic relationships. Um, often,
Toxic family relationships or husband and wife?
yeah, well,
Say
family,
family.
family,
Hmm.
yeah. But
Well,
I'm
I should say partners, not just husband and wife. Sorry.
right. But I think that it can kind of venture over into partners relationships. That's a little bit different because you have to live with them. And
Yeah, and yeah,
but
you
what
have
about
to.
people that have to live with the family? Like,
Do you?
the assumption is that some people don't have to live with the family. Maybe some people are living with family even as adults and have to navigate those relationships. So we
Mhm.
want to talk about those. My little comments are not coming up, but I see we have 2 people viewing so far. So please like, share, invite people to come on in and listen to how to navigate toxic relationships. As I, Michelle Bird, and my great friend Stephanie McCain will discuss, share some tips, share some experiences, and all that other great stuff. Um,
Yeah, your phone did a little like a buzz thing. Just I don't know
oh,
what that was. Just so you know, that it made a special a sound like a buzzing sound.
I think it was a message coming through.
Oh, okay.
Okay, is it rolling now?
Yeah, it's rolling. It was just
Because
that buzzing.
I put it on do not disturb, and I didn't want to do that because I wasn't sure if it was going to keep going. But yeah,
It did.
yeah. Well, it did keep going, but I'm not sure if I can get comments that way.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's do not disturb, you don't get anything, and I'm not sure if that affects Facebook uh,
Yeah.
and YouTube or not. So yeah.
Yeah. That's good to know. We should find out. That's really good.
Girl, so listen, you guys out there, we're going to start a podcast and we're going to hire somebody else to do this with. Okay?
The technical, the
Can you guys
technical
tell this is not our specialty and
is not.
we are not pretending that it is.
No.
This is not our
I
specialty and
can't even anymore. Like I'm like, yeah, no.
we're right, right.
No. So let's jump in here.
Yes.
And talk about this and anybody wants to give any feedback, that would be cool. Ask any questions.
Yes.
Um, my question is, when I heard that, I wanted to know, what's the definition of toxic
Right.
for someone? What would someone say would be toxic? Um, and did the person who asked give an example or, for instance, what they would
Well, the
consider
person
to
that
be
asked did not, but I kind of know their situation. And so,
okay?
um, and you're right, it can be different for different people.
Mm-hmm.
When I was researching and thinking about and pondering this topic, what kept coming to mind. So let's say it's me and want to know how to deal with toxic relationships as far as family is concerned. What kept coming to mind is the role I might play. Right. And so I know we'll touch on that. And so when the person asked me, that came to mind too, like, do we perpetuate in some ways situations
Negative experiences in another person's life
because we don't know how to navigate those relations? I'm not saying that they're not toxic or they're not negative, right? Or they're not unhealthy. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that do we perpetuate it in some way because we don't know how to navigate it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it says here that a toxic person is anyone whose behavior adds negativity and upset to your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh boy. People who are toxic are dealing with their own stresses and trauma.
Yeah. And we know that, right? They are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the question is, do we is that a pass?
What do you mean? Is it a pass?
Is that a pass in the person's life who is experiencing this toxicity in this relationship? Is it a pass? Oh, they're going through XYZ, so that's why, and so I should continue to endure because this person is going through what they've been going through, or they grew up with whatever trauma they grew up with, and so I should stay put because there's a sense out there, there's a consensus out there that, oh, that's how they are, or oh, they've gone through this. So you, as the healthy person, if you will, I'll use that language, because if you're doing your work and you're trying to heal, you just need to understand and move around it. You just need to endure it. You just need to, right? And so that's
right.
Is the responsibility on the person who does not like the toxicity, or is the responsibility of that person's behavior on them?
So if I'm in a toxic connection with somebody, the responsibility for change is on me.
Yes, absolutely.
If I want it to be different, I can just leave. I don't have to be in a connection with a toxic person. When toxicity comes, I have the choice. I'm empowered to go in another direction. I don't have to be in a connection with a toxic person. And when you find yourself in a repetitive toxic connection, the work to do is your work, my work, not the other person. The other person does not need to change until they decide they need to change. I don't get to tell people it's time for you to change. It's time for you to heal. It's time for you to grow up. But if that person cares enough to not to have me in their space, they're going to then say, "Hey, Steph, like, where have you been? Why have you left the scene? Why aren't we journeying together?" And I can say, because this is the experience you bring to my life. I don't want to feel that anymore. That does not feel good. And I'm not willing to feel that. I don't need a toxic person to give me permission. Right. So the answer to the question is that if I'm in a toxic relationship and I want it to change, and that person is not willing to change, that relationship, it's on me.
Right. So I think that what I'm asking though, because I think that hey mom, hi Elisa.
I don't see anybody. Hi y'all.
I think that the question then is that because we come from a culture of people, and we can only talk about our own culture because that's what we know. We come from a culture of people where you just need to endure. You just need, because this person they're just this. And so if I'm healthy, if the person is the healthy person decides I need to do something different in this relationship, and we're going to give some tips on how to do that. Cause I know some people want to know, like, how do I do that?
Yes.
Somebody that I'm near and dear to, and I love them. How do I do that? Right. But the consensus is that you endure that. You're the healthy person. You're the one on the journey of healing.
I'm healthy because I'm not enduring it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But there is this thing out there of, oh, I've often saw posts on Facebook that reminds people and gives people power. And the post is, you don't have to stay because you don't have to stay in a relationship that is toxic or abusive just because it's somebody that is close to you. It's your mom, it's your sister, it's your brother, it's your uncle,
your boss.
It's your boss, right? Because that spills over into that. Oh my goodness. When you don't know how to and you've been taught to endure, it spills over into all the relationships. So your job, your employment, everything, your romantic relationships, and then the same people perhaps when you do end up in those relationships cannot understand why you don't get out of those relationships. Because relationships are relationships, and how you learn to deal with them is usually across the board. Right?
Yes. Yeah. When you say across the board, what do you mean?
Like, so if you're taught to do relationship a certain way, you're going to carry that into all of your relationships.
Yes. Until you learn to do something different. Yes.
Until you learn to do something different. Yeah.
It's so.
Lisa said, "Hey, ladies, just my kind of topic."
Oh, hey, Lisa. I wish I could. I can't see comments today.
Okay, so we expect some interaction then, Lisa. Oh, here she go. She said, "I have removed myself from the circle of family that was toxic to my mental health. It was hard, but I'm better for it. Y'all would be proud of my progress."
All right.
What happens is you start to have physical ailments. You start to, like, all of this weighs on your mental and your physical health.
If your mental health is impacted, then your body is in dis-ease and you are getting sick. You are sick. It just hasn't metastasized and become a pronounced sickness. But if you have an emotional challenge in a relationship with toxic people, you are in dis-ease. The body keeps the score.
Yeah, absolutely. The body
all the time.
The score. There's a book. So if you guys want to get it, The Body Keeps Score. There's a book out there. Check it out on Amazon. I don't know if it's on Kindle or not, but The Body Keeps Score. The Body Keeps Score. And so that goes into like being able to set boundaries, because we're not taught to do that either.
Right.
So in that,
boundaries are made to believe that we are selfish if we have boundaries.
Yeah.
Or stuck up or bougie or
whatever word or language people decide they want to come up with.
Insensitive.
Yes. Whatever language they want to come up with. And that's not true. You're just trying to take care of yourself. But however, I taught a workshop on boundaries. And one of the things I said was, nobody's bothered by your boundaries except for those who were being served and are no longer going to be served. Right. So I am no longer able to, it's like when you're in therapy and you start to heal and you start to have boundaries and you start to grow, the people around you got to shift. Or if they don't, and it's uncomfortable for them because they have to move around, and they didn't ask to move around. They didn't go to therapy so they can move around. And so they don't do that. So when you start to set boundaries, it may upset some people, only the people who were benefiting for you not having boundaries.
Yes.
They will start to become upset about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So Lisa said, learn to do something different. Oh, that was Monique. Learn to do something different. Yes. I'm so not great at setting boundaries. Boundaries protect you and your peace. Yes. Yes.
It does. That's the boundary. Set the boundary around your peace. Like, I'm protecting my peace.
Yes. It's not about dissing the other person. It's not about I don't like you. I don't love you.
Right. It's a state of mind I want to be in and I need to stay in.
It's about protecting my mental health. But it's this thing in the world where you don't get to do that. It's this consensus. It's this thought process in society that you don't get to do that, particularly women. But anyway, you don't get to set boundaries. If this is the way we want it done, then this is the way you need to operate. And when you don't do that, then here comes all this other stuff. And you have to work on empowering yourself so that you can set these boundaries and be okay with the boundary.
Because the boundaries well, like we said, the boundaries are there to protect you. They're there to protect your state of mind. They're there to protect your peace of mind. And when you can say, hey, I'm only setting these boundaries for me, not setting them for you, you will be impacted by them.
Right.
But I'm setting the boundaries for me. It is for my own personal protection or my own growth or my own. I mean, like, say if you, were trying to heal from some disease and you couldn't be around sweets and junk food and sugar. That
Yes,
was
it's a great
something you
example.
can't do, right? And you're trying to, go into some deep healing, and you know that if I go to this picnic, there's going to be cakes and pies and everything. And so you say, I'm going to have to forfeit. That's the boundary, because
Yeah.
I really want to stay committed to this process, or I'm just coming off of sugar. I don't want to relapse, or I'm just coming away from meat.
Right.
I don't want to relapse. It's not that there's anything wrong with the people who eating sugar or anything wrong with the people who are eating meat. I just know that right now I got to put this fence around myself so I can reach my goal or heal my body or whatever the reason is. And sometimes people just don't understand it, and it's
Right.
okay.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So what would you say is some of the reasons that people don't set boundaries or don't or stay in those toxic relationships even after they know, I think that sometimes you can be in relationships and it doesn't feel good. But then there's other times you can be in relationships and you need to set a boundary and whatever it is you got to do to get out of that situation, but you don't or you can't.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
You grieve the loss of getting away from toxic people. Because once upon a time you were toxic too. That's why they in your mix.
That was gonna be my next thing. Like, so, that was gonna be my next thing is like
so
toxic relationships because I don't want to say they feel good, but we're used to them and we're getting they're serving us in some kind of way.
Yeah. And it's all you know. And so what do I do now? What do I do? And you can sometimes when you first meet people who are coming out of toxic connections, you'll say, like, do I bring enough drama to the table for you? Because they seem bored. There's a book called Love is a Choice. And one of the things in that book, Love is a Choice, is that when you're used to being in toxicity or unhealthy connections, you actually start making them. So
yes, you start creating it.
Yeah, some people will leave a toxic relationship and then go gossip about the people that they left the relationship. Like you still in it.
So you still in that relationship in a sense,
in the relationship, right? Because you now are bringing that experience over into your no toxic life, and it's the reason why you're doing it subconsciously is because the body needs to feel that vibration because that energy goes down, right? That energy
feeling connected, perhaps.
Say that again.
Keep you feeling connected.
Yeah, because you feel isolated when that energy is gone. Like I don't get to do. What do I do now? I don't get to get the buzz that I got from that.
Oh, that's
good.
Where
do I get my buzz from now?
That's good. That's kind of like I had this conversation today where you like busy, going, doing, and then when it slows down and there's no more going and no more doing and nothing else for you to do, nobody else for you to serve or whatever, then it's like, wow, what now? What do I do now?
Who am I?
Who am I outside of all that busyness? And what do I do? And this doesn't feel good. I'm bored. We use that a lot. I'm bored. And it's like, relax. I don't know. I don't know what that is because I've always been going. So it's kind of like that. You get that adrenaline pumping. We know you get the adrenaline pumping, right? Because let me just say, it feels good at the moment.
It does.
Just go off. The after effects is so detrimental.
Yeah.
And I remember very vividly having that experience of just going over the top and afterwards feeling like horrible, guilty, but that's not what I'm talking about. like my body didn't feel good. My brain didn't feel, it was just, it was at that moment that it's like, I was really powerless in that situation.
Right. It feels powerful, but you're
It's
powerless.
not. Right. Right. Lisa said,
Mhm.
once you get over the hurdle of, I don't want to be mistreated or disrespected, the toxic family is no longer missed. It's like you've done a cleansing of the contaminated things that were once in you too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being mindful that that's what's happening for you. Like, okay, and yeah, finding one of the suggestions was, get new friends, get new acquaintances, so that you're not pulled back into it because that energy is gone. um Pay attention to your own self-worth, because if you
Yep.
think that you've been in a toxic connection, then there's work to build yourself up.
Exactly.
um, but if you step out of the toxic connection and are turning around and saying they, that means that you, the three fingers that are pointing back at you, still have healing to
Exactly.
do.
Exactly. And that's what I
Mhm.
was going to say. Be careful. Be
Mhm.
careful, because you will go get friends that are toxic too.
Mhm.
Because if you don't
Mhm.
do your work, because we got to be clear that while you were in that, you were perpetuating and contributing to it as well. And
Mhm.
you come to yourself to say, like, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this. I want out of this. But be careful. The one of judgment, you and I talk about that all the time.
Mhm.
Become
Mhm.
that what you judge. Judgment, and be careful that you've done your work and you continue, because it's a continued work to do your work, that you're not find yourself back in another group of
Mhm.
toxic or negative or unhealthy relationship.
Right. And
And
it's so easy to do, to just slide in, just gossiping about it. It just puts you in the
keeps you engaged.
connection with.
Yep.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
our energy matches us. People show up to match where we are.
Yeah.
Either they're there to help you elevate your energy, or they're going to be rolling right with you on your energy all the time. So
Say
people
that
show
again.
up to show us who we are. What you
Yes,
say?
I'll say that again, because we think, like, where did these toxic people come from? These people keep finding me. And it's like, no, you keep showing up.
Hmm.
So check you
Always.
and figure
Always.
out, what am I putting out there that
Always.
draws this
Always.
energy to me,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And
You want to get to a place where people are like, well, she's not going to play right. So I'm not calling her. She's
not
always
calling
so
her.
happy. Life is so great. Life is so magical. Nobody's calling her.
Yeah,
So you want to get to that place where I'm not doing that.
right.
Or let's sit down and talk about it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So we talked about the reason why people struggle, or the challenge of getting out of or leaving, is mourning, being, the grief of not having the
Yeah.
connection anymore. It's in your DNA, it's in your biology. If we're talking about family members, it's in there. That's how everybody's got down.
Been
That's the dance
operating,
that
right? That's the dance we've been doing all these years.
dance we're doing.
Mhm.
Now you're getting off the dance floor, creating, healthy boundaries. And if you desire to let people understand, if not, just set them. To know that the boundaries are for you. They are
Right.
not for other people to be in agreement with. These are mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I am, and I pray that you would honor them, and if
Oh,
not,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm building up and empowering myself and building up my self-esteem so that
Oh, that's good,
I
because
can
I have that.
enforce the
Mhm.
boundaries.
Yes.
Because it's a challenge. We just kind of talked about why it's so hard to maintain the boundaries, because people pull on you. If you grew up in a manipulation, you've been manipulated, that that's going to happen, and you don't want to be isolated, you don't want to be singled out, you don't want to be wrong. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if it's me? And so that, then we talked about getting some friends, and then separation and
Yeah.
being an individual, and all of that stuff takes, a
Yeah.
lot of consciousness, a lot.
Yes. And in some families, you may not be able to just sever altogether, right?
Right.
Um, And let me just say that that's fine, and it doesn't make you toxic. So what do you can be cordial, you can have cordial contact, right? And how do you do that? Mentally prepare, like you might be talking about holidays and things like that, right? Because there may be some people in that unit that are not toxic, that have not um crossed, or your boundaries, who you do want to still have connection with. And so you just not have connection with anyone. So no, so you prepare yourself, beforehand. You prepare yourself beforehand. If you still got to share some type of space in some way with the person, and you can be cordial, but you got to do your work though, to be cordial and to be healthy in it.
And be able to set the boundary of, okay, so after we eat or after we play cards, we got one hand. The first time something ridiculous gets said, I'm gonna finish up my hand and just politely leave, or I'm gonna finish my meal and just politely leave. It's just time for us to
Remove
go, or
yourself.
time for
Yeah.
me to go. You're not obligated to stay to the end. And show enough, if you sitting there boiling, you don't want that energy.
Because you're
Now
not
you just
helping anybody
add
else.
into, yeah, you just add into the toxicity.
Right.
So
Right.
removing yourself from toxicity is important. If there was, what is that gas that they throw out, tear gas in the room,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't just stay there and be like, this is my family. You would go.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
would remove
Or know
yourself and
your
go.
limitations. Know your limitations. One thing, and I'm jumping my notes here, but one thing that I, you know, came across is knowing the limitations. And one thing about being healthy is finding, and this is not to keep you in a toxic relationship, but finding the good things. When you start to become healthy, you don't enter this room with all the negative things and all of that,
Right,
because now you still perpetuating the toxicity.
right.
Like what's good about the person. Like, let's get real, acknowledge your own negative thoughts and feelings, and then avoid the judgment, avoid the
Oh, please.
negativity, avoid it, right? Because sometimes, like, yeah, the person could be toxic, right? But sometimes it could be your own judgment that is.
Yeah, and then no monster is without merit. So when you
Mhm,
understand that,
mhm,
it just kind of, you figure out how to become grateful for something, about
right,
the experience, about the people, because this person or people are not toxic without merit. They've
right,
had a journey too.
right. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, by all means, we're not saying that if none of this works, that you should just stay around and be a target. No,
No,
absolutely not. Absolutely
mm-mm.
not. But what we do know
I
is that,
say leave.
right. And we do know that if you never go around, right? Because that's an option, depending on
Definitely an option.
how toxic the relationship is and how unhealthy it is.
Hmm.
Still try to find some positive.
Yeah, even if you never go around there, the first step in forgiveness is exoneration.
Yeah.
So, because if you're still holding on to toxicity, then once again, your body is declining, it's deteriorating, it's metastasizing.
Mm-hmm.
When you are not happy, when you are not in a space of peace, your body is in dis-ease
Yeah.
and it is deteriorating all
Yes.
the time. So you want to
Mhm.
find gratitude and you want to find a reason to celebrate, you know, that experience, whatever is taught you, whatever the person has taught you, whoever they are, like, and even saying, whatever, I know you had a really rough life, and I understand that happened, not to them, but to yourself in the
Yourself, right?
mirror.
But this is
Yeah,
not for them.
like, yeah,
This is
this
for
is for
you.
you.
This is absolutely for you.
Yes. So
Hmm.
when you make amends, part of the 12 steps, when you make amends, whether you can do it to the toxic people or just getting clear within yourself, is
Yeah.
so vitally important, because you can walk away. People walk away all the time and then die, excuse me, have cancer, because you don't have to die with cancer. Have cancer and don't know, like, what happened. And sometimes it's because you've been ruminating on an experience or on an
Yes.
event for
Absolutely.
years.
For
And once
you.
you jump, the momentum is already started. And so, in order to bring it back up, you have to go into a place of gratitude and, exoneration, if it's for a parent or family member, whatever, find the good in it. It's so,
Yeah.
and it's like magic.
But you have
Finding the
you
good.
have to do your work. You have to do your healing work in order for you to get to that space,
Yeah.
Um, Lisa says, yes, I have to remove myself because I have a fighting demon and I don't look good in jumpsuits.
Oh,
Well,
well, there you go. That's right. Yeah. Well, if that's what it takes,
at least you
it
know.
makes it happen. Right.
She says, serious question. Why is it that when you decide to remove, that removal is the best plan for yourself, people tend to say that you are wrong or now the outcast? And I don't know if you were on a little bit earlier, because when you set boundaries, the only people that have a negative thought or feeling about it is the ones that were being served by you not having the boundary. So that means they have to move around. They have to do something different. You're no longer perpetuating whatever this family idea is, since we're talking about family. And so even the people that you're not removing yourself from will come with this, oh, you're wrong, this is family. That's because you're changing the way the family is used to doing things, and people don't want to change. It's easier to get you to conform back to what is happening than for everybody else to decide that we're going to change this behavior or we're not.
And we have not been very well encouraged to go against the tribe, because for so many years,
but
following the tribe was supposed to protect us. But fear never protects in a way that is like, don't expand, don't, I need you to put up with toxicity. Even though it's not a loving environment, I need you to stay in this space. Even though it's not a loving space, I need you to stay in that space. That's fear. Anytime that there's no love in the space, and someone is thinking, oh, you should stay, even though you're not being treated well, you're not being handled well, but you should stay in there and endure. Like, where does that even sound okay? Like, I'm not even clear what we were thinking.
Right. Yeah.
But that's not, there's nothing about that sounds right or feels right. But people will say, well, that's your mom, or that's your cousin, or that's family. Okay.
Yeah. And then you continue to allow yourself to be heard. And then you have all of these different issues mentally and physically. Right.
And sometimes this is not clinical, but sometimes I think people want other people to stay in toxicity because it gives them a soap opera. It gives them something to talk about.
That part. Yeah.
I don't need you to get well, because then who will I discuss?
The other thing,
the attention of me off.
Yes. The other thing too is that if you change and it's working for you,
oh my God,
and I am aware because I'm watching you, I may not be the toxic person, right? But I am a part of the family. Then that means I'd have to do something different. And yeah, I didn't ask you to go to therapy for me. I didn't ask you to do something different. So I can, no, I don't do that. Again, it's easier for the one, for the tribe to go get the one and bring them back. And this is how I explained it. I had a similar conversation with someone today. And I said, it's like the cat with the kittens. And there's this box, and they're all in this box, and you got one that stray away, trying to go a different way. And that mom is going to keep bringing them back in. That leader is going to keep bringing them back. No, that's not what we're doing. We're all in here. We're not doing anything different. Okay. And then if you continue to buck against that, then that's a problem. Because then somebody else might know that they can do something different, then they'll do something different. And we're afraid. Fear. It's fear. It's absolutely fear.
Yeah.
It's fear. And it's just, it feels,
love don't hurt.
Exactly. I was going to say, it feels easier to accommodate the person that is unhealthy, but it's
Mhm.
not easier because
Mhm.
that person perhaps absolutely do not see that they need to change, are not trying to do that right now.
Mhm.
And if you're used to that person wreaking havoc in the family, or those persons wreaking havoc in the family,
Mhm.
you're trying to bring everybody on board. And you causing, the short answer is you causing other people to look at that perhaps they might need to change. And they don't.
Yeah, and it always happens that way.
Yeah. They're not.
And people are like, she tripping.
Right.
That's easier to say that than to say, I wonder,
Yeah.
and his statements like she's too sensitive.
That's gaslighting.
Um, yeah, she's too sensitive. How you gonna be mad at your mama? She's a
Mhm.
human being that
Right.
may
Pause.
possibly have made some mistakes. I don't know, just saying. But
And then
yeah,
when people admit and recognize that things are not as they should be, perhaps they need to change, people are not willing to be the one to jump out on that limb and change it.
hmm
Because now you are already viewed as who she thinks she is, blah, blah, blah.
right,
I'm watching you,
right.
watching you and what the family is saying. And I'm not, and perhaps I don't have the strength to set those boundaries. And I don't want that said about me
Yes, yes.
because I'm
It's the
watching how
fear of
you.
being isolated.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
hmm
I'm not ready for that. Right. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that part. I have, and we don't have to go further, but in a minute I have signals of a toxic relationship, what that looks like, what that could possibly look like, because you could be in a toxic relationship and don't even realize that you are,
hmm
or unhealthy, or whatever you want to call it. We don't like certain words.
hmm
I don't like
hmm
toxic. We like soft words. We like
So what's the soft word?
just unhealthy, or
Oh,
yeah. Toxic seems so ugh, like it's like it seems like it has a bigger presence, and that's what it is. It's toxicity. Period. That's what it is.
yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes people don't realize that they're in those types of relationships,
hmm
or that the time is now to try and remove yourself from those relationships.
Something different. hmm
Yeah, do
hmm
something different in your life. Yeah. So before we get into that, you have anything else that of what we already kind of.
No, I just say when you decide to make those changes, know that it's not going to feel good.
Yeah.
I'm on this little surrender journey. Oh, so hard.
I know.
But
Baby folks.
Mickey or Michael Singer from Untethered Soul talks about surrender, and then there's your surrender experiment, which is what I'm trying to do here. And one of the things is like, why is surrender so difficult? What is the challenge with surrendering? And surrendering is just saying, God, you got this. I'm done with my plan, and I'm done with doing anything that don't feel yummy, juicy, and fun. Like if it doesn't feel yummy, juicy, and fun, I'm not touching it. I'm putting it over in your space. And the part of the surrender is the withdrawal.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part of any deciding to get rid of anything toxic is withdrawal. If you stop smoking, it's the withdrawals. If
Oh
you stop
yeah.
drinking, it's the withdrawals. If you start partying, it's the withdrawals. Like when you start to stop eating meat, it's the withdrawals. When you start to let sugar go, it's the withdrawals. And so if we can get past the withdrawal, we've kind of made it over the hump, but it's the withdrawals, and
And we have
that's where you
to,
start doing your inner work, like
and when you talk
bearing
about
down.
withdrawals and all of those different things, the same in toxic relationships, the addiction of it all, like how is it serving you, and you not wanting to be able, you're not wanting to leave that because it feels good. Like what is it? What are you getting from it? What are
Right.
you gonna miss? And the
Or
other thing too,
avoiding or
yeah, or
avoiding
avoiding,
from it,
yeah.
because some people just don't want to be isolated, or Some people don't want to be wrong about choices that they've made or whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah, there's a payoff, and that's the work to do.
that
When
is
you
the
keep
work to
sit
do.
in the withdrawal, that's when you go and say, I need somebody to partner with me on this journey, because it's the withdrawals that stop us from surrendering, because we're natural surrenderers. If we give it a moment, if we get a chance to be in peace, it's like, oh, I don't ever want this to go away.
Yeah,
You got to get there.
um because the temptation, if you will, for lack of better words, is going to pass.
Yeah.
The craving is going to pass. Just sit in it for a
Mhm.
minute. It's going to pass. I'm not saying it won't come up again, but in that particular experience, right in that moment, it
Mhm.
will pass. And we don't
Mhm.
believe it will, and we don't want to sit in what we need to sit in. And it's not an easy thing. It's a very difficult thing.
Mm-mm.
It's a very difficult thing to be, especially in family, to
Mhm.
take the road of boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries meaning little contact or none. That takes a
Mhm.
lot. Lisa said, it may get lonely, but it does get better. Peace.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And and we don't know people. We are not the creator of people. And I say that to say, so you don't know when somebody might have their own revelation and do something different.
And we can pray to that end, right?
Yep, absolutely. If that's what we want. Because
Mhm.
now be careful. We can be somewhere sitting and seething in our loathing for them, and you're no more right than they are.
No, not at all. That's a very dangerous, toxic place for you to be in.
Yeah.
If that's your journey, you are toxic.
Yeah.
So yeah, like absolutely, you want to be able to stand in the gap for people that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
hurt you, who's not been healthy in your life, who
Mhm.
has not allowed or help to allow your peace. Because I don't want to say not
Mhm.
allow, because you get to decide
Mhm. Mhm.
when you have peace or not.
Mhm.
They're not in control of that. You are, right? So you
Mhm.
want to be careful.
Right.
I think that we
Yes.
leave relationships, including family relationships, with the idea that I'm right, and we take all those emotions with us, but we still cannot have a conversation about that relationship without feeling some kind of way, without being unforgiving, without pointing out they did, she did, he did. And like you said, the other three fingers are pointing back to you. What role did you play? And that's the
Mhm.
part you need to be healing. Or else, like
Mhm.
I said before, you will end up in another toxic relationship with
Yeah.
another person or another group. We
Mhm.
all got some
Mhm.
stuff. Because as we said before in another segment, is that we all have endured trauma just
Mhm.
because of our history and how we've
Mhm.
learned to do things in our
How
family.
we've learned to do relationship. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the work to do. That's the work to do anywhere, but that's definitely the work to do when you decide to walk away from toxicity or change your mind about a group. Even if they're not toxic, the same work still have to be done. Because if you've
right.
been in a group or worked a job for a long time and it's been a part of what you do, and you decide to do something different, it's still the morning. It's still, making sure that your self esteem is intact, your self worth is intact, your identity
Yes.
is intact, and that you're not ruminating in a negative energy about that
Mhm.
lost experience, because that's the sickness part of what we do, constantly thinking about it and talking about it and thinking about it and talking about it and thinking about it. So, that is still the work to do,
Yeah.
ending any type of relationship, but specifically a toxic one, because you'll feel it. You'll feel the yuckiness start to come off you as you
Yeah.
do
You
the
can
work.
feel
It's
that,
like this
meaning
lightness.
you can hear a conversation and your body doesn't have a negative response.
Mhm.
We also could remove ourselves from those relationships and be distracted by more negative relationships.
Mhm.
We think that we're all peaceful because we're out of that, and not even realizing, but you still in toxicity somewhere
Mhm.
because you have to do. It's not as, I wished it was really as simple as getting out of the relationship. You still
Yeah. And I think that the universe, life is just so precious like that. Like, if we got work to do, the stuff just gonna keep showing up. We
until
just
you
get
do
a
it.
new face, new name, same stuff until you do the work that needs to be done on you. I think that that's the grace of God.
Absolutely.
That's the grace of God, that I'm not gonna let you go until you
Get it.
recognize how amazing you are alone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the children of Israel, he had to send a lot of things because you're not getting it,
Mm-hmm.
not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And until you get it, it's going to keep showing up.
Yeah, standing in your might and your perfection and your greatness, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so the stuff keeps coming
Mm-hmm.
because there's more for you to learn. You know, it's just life is asking you to tighten up your forgiveness belt, tighten up your compassion belt,
How about that?
tighten up your light, your knowledge, your love belt. That's the goal. That's the work to do,
Right.
is digging into that.
And don't get it twisted. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating the
No,
unhealthy. It doesn't mean
no,
that.
you get out of the toxic stuff and still
And
forgive. Yeah.
exactly. So, how do
Mhm.
you know that you are potentially in a toxic relationship? When the relationship is based in any type of abuse, and that could be a whole nother topic in itself, because we want to make up what abuse is when it's clear. But when we come from that, I guess sometimes it's hard to identify that that's what's happening,
Mhm.
right? So anything that hurts you and that is not love, and so that's mental abuse, physical, sexual, verbal, or emotional abuse.
Mhm.
So when the relationship is based on any of those types of abuse, it's toxic.
Mhm.
When the only contact you have with them is negative.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. When the relationship creates so much stress that it affects the important areas of your life at work or at home, or even your health, as we said.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, that's how you know. When you find yourself upset, we talked about this. When you find yourself obsessed with the gossip about you and trying to right wrong information and constantly being
Woo.
ostracized to the point you are losing sleep over it. And it's not surrender. Just let it go.
Does not surrender.
I'm so sorry. I don't want to say just, because that is not that simple. It is not that simple. I wish it was just that
Mhm.
simple. It's not that
Mhm.
simple.
Mhm.
But that's what we should
And
be.
the ego is so tricky and cunning and sly, and the
Yeah.
ego will tell you all kind of stories and minimize, and yeah, so no, it's not
To
that
build
simple.
you up. The ego will tell you
Mhm.
all kinds
Mhm.
of greatness in this, and then you're not. But if you've been in it, because and we have, you've been in it for a length of time, you've contributed in some way
Mhm.
yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
When the relationship is all about the other person and there's no real reason why the other person cannot make any effort toward the health and maintenance of the relationship with you. So they have the capacity and everything, and they just decide that that's not what they're going to do. It's all
Mhm.
about them and not the people around them.
Mhm.
And when crazy making, oh, what's wrong with you? It's
Mhm.
you the one with the, why you acting like whatever. No win games dominate the relationship.
Mhm.
There's no win. I don't care what you do, what you say, you won't win. Such as the silent treatment. We call that
Emotional punishment.
emotional punishment.
Mhm.
Um, blame games, uh, no win arguments that spin around on you. So
Mhm.
trying to have a conversation and communicate about a behavior of some sort, and it comes back on you.
Mhm.
You can go into the conversation with owning your stuff, and it still is just all about what you did.
Right.
You. That's how you
Yeah.
know that it's unhealthy. And then when your body starts feeling it, because your body feels it first.
Yeah, you got to do a scan. Where am I feeling this? My shoulders, my knees. When I'm struggling with letting go, I don't care. So when I'm struggling with letting go, my knee hurts, my left knee hurts. And I will even start like drinking all kind of water, getting my minerals in, start taking my vitamins, and just be really radical. And my knee still hurts. Now it may not hurt to the touch, but let me get on the elliptical. Well, not the elliptical, but like the treadmill, or if I'm trying to do squats with dumbbells or whatever, the squats with the pole behind my back, and my knee comes down. I'm like, what am I still
Well, you know
holding
what we
on
say.
to?
Whew, I'm just getting older. It's
Not
stressing the
me.
body.
I'm like,
You're not
something
you, not anybody else. You just happen to recognize it.
be
It's
like,
some stress in the
what am
body.
I holding on? I'm holding on to something. Please, Lord, please keep my cartilage in here. I don't know. I want to get this together. Because I understand that that's the only part of my body that's hurting right now. And I know that knee problems are stubbornness, not willing to let go. And so
Yeah.
I've just been like, and I meet people that got knee problems. I have to examine myself. So
Yeah.
pay attention to your body, especially if you generally take care of yourself and things are starting to like do what they do. Just pay attention
Yeah.
because we can heal ourselves with our emotional well-being.
Yeah. Here's some questions to ask yourself because we vacillate between like should we let go, should we leave, we go in and out. It's like double dutch. We in, we out, we digging our potatoes out. We don't know, because it's going to be hurtful and isolating. But ask some questions of your, does this person ever admit wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Am I the one that has to carry the brunt of this, um, when it's something is wrong? Does this person ever genuinely apologize and try to change his or her behavior, work toward changing the behavior? Does this person show remorse for what he or she has done, or is it always on somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Has this person ever validated your perception as right? Right? Because we all have an opinion about something, a perception about it. Does this person respect the limits or boundaries that you've set in the past?
I like that.
Is this person willing to do anything and everything to make a relationship with you work? Make the relationship work. Are they willing? Or do you have to forego? Do you have to just see that's just how they are and ignore them and move? And that's the no contact, right? Because some relationships you can just kind of have limited. You might decide I'm gonna have limited contact.
Yes. Like I can only, I'll be there for the holidays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, how bad is that? 2 or 3 hours, we can go ahead on and go.
Right. Now let me say, it's up
Phone
to you.
call a week.
Everything is right, and everything is individual. So
Yes.
your
Yeah.
circumstance might be
No
different.
rules.
Your circumstance might be different. You might be in a relationship where you just absolutely cannot have contact.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just say to you, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is not to make anybody, should not be to make anybody feel anything. Is to just protect your peace. You have to protect your peace. You're trying to live differently, right? And hopefully the person can see that you're doing something different, and maybe that will provoke them to do something different. But that's not your goal.
Right.
Your goal
Please
is,
don't let it be your goal.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's manipulation. I
Mm-hmm.
often have my clients cracking up. They'll say something. I was like, well, that's just manipulation. And it's like, really? Yes. It can be simple, but it's like, that's manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for by all means, find your secure support system.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need it, like you said. Find you another group of friends, or you already have a group of friends, or whatever. Surround yourself with positivity. Find
Mm-hmm.
yourself a support system. Now, the support system should be able to tell you about you too.
Yeah. It's a
right?
place where you give influence to.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yeah, yeah. This is good.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. And I want to read this part. And so it says, before you choose to go no contact, highly recommended that you have a loving support system in place to reassure
Yes.
yourself that you will not be alone once you make this change. What you have to be prepared for is the response of your toxic family members. They will likely do all they can to isolate you by targeting your key supports. Um, to do what they can to turn them against you. Once you see the smear campaign is in full effect, you must come to trust that you need to stay quiet. Oh, mm. That's how I used to do my kids when they were little. Not hard, but they back talking to them. Close them lips right now. Let us get this together, right? That's so good. Keep your lips quiet, right?
I want to get a picture
Not
of that.
engage and not take a picture right now and not engage. Don't engage. Just let it happen and let it pass because it will pass. Because when people don't have anybody to argue with, when they don't have anybody to do relationship like that with, well, if they're doing it with you and they see they're not going to get any response from that, they will move on.
They gotta go
Maybe until the
somewhere
next
else.
time. Maybe until the next time.
Hmm.
But after a
Hmm.
while, it's not coming back.
Right.
Because they, like you said, will say, oh, well, they're gonna see that you're not gonna engage. The more you fight the smearing, the bigger the gossip and lies become, and the crazier you will look to others. Now, we really don't care what you look like to other people.
Right.
We don't. So I'm reading something else. So let me just throw that out there. We don't care what you look like to other people. We care what you do for you in a healthy way. And it
And
is
the only reason you'll look crazy is because you're on the dance floor and you shouldn't be.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And know that if the relationship is toxic and there's no cohesiveness in this relationship, they gonna think you look crazy. I don't care what you do.
Anyway, they have to. They can't afford for you not to look crazy.
Yes. Um Toxic family members smear people for the sole purpose of trying to rob them of the very support system they need and deserve
Yes.
in place.
Yep.
Right? They want to ensure that you are robbed of having a soft place to fall, and uh, that you do not have people on your side supporting your decision.
Hmm.
That's the goal. Don't fall for the okey doke.
Hmm.
But it takes work. It takes work.
It takes work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the first thing is to get a support system and then decide that you don't want to be in a toxic connection, and then get a support system so
Mhm.
that when you step away from that connection, you hold yourself accountable, or those people are there as you go through the mourning process. The people are there to help to support you when you're trying
Mhm.
to honor your boundaries, and they are there to just empower you and remind you how amazing you are while you're
Right.
going through the process.
Yeah. This says if we want to be healthy, we must prepare for the fact that when we leave our toxic family members, we will likely also be forced to leave behind many others who connected
Oh,
to them.
mhm,
And that's another reason people don't leave, because they're afraid of
mhm,
that. We
mhm.
must be okay, all caps, okay with this, embracing it as an acceptable loss,
Yeah. And
right?
people, that's not that it's not so much. I know people don't believe this, but it's not so much that you don't want to leave the family. It's that the baby brain, the childhood person
Yeah.
inside of you, that part of the primal part of your
Mhm.
brain doesn't feel that experience. It
Yeah.
has felt that traumatic experience before, and when it has to cut off or be away from that, it goes into panic, it goes into trauma, it goes into duress. And so I don't want to feel this, because if we didn't have to feel the pain of cutting off, we would just be like, this is not working, I'm going to the next thing. Because we got friends in all of our lives that we have said, oh, this is not working anymore. And we go on. So the difference with family is because it's registering some old stuff inside of us.
Some old stuff inside of us.
And we don't want to feel that pain.
The body keeps score.
Right. And so when you go into the vagal nervous system or the polyvagal nervous system, both of the nervous systems that register and tells us how to feel about these things, you have to then learn to make friends with it and nurture it. This is my nervous system responding to this release.
Yes.
This is my nervous system that doesn't want to feel this. Give it a bottle, give it a pacifier, find something, but let it be good for you. You know, some fruits, some vegetables, you know, popcorn and water. I don't know, but just be mindful. But know that it's coming up painful because it's an old wound that wants to heal, that has to be healed.
So in this article, the person says, I've experienced in my own life and watch others who have also been in a similar position have things turn out better than fine when they make these decisions.
So, oh my goodness.
You got to look at it from the end. We got to keep the end and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be
not easy. I mean, it's simple, but not easy.
I love that. Easy. I heard that earlier today too. It's simple, but not easy.
Yeah.
Is that where I heard it? You said it today? Okay. Yes. We cannot predict all that will happen, but believe whenever we activate positively for our mental and emotional health, we find that what has been left gaping and empty in our lives will eventually be replaced by situations and people that are better and healthier for us.
I promise you.
It's kind of like, it's not, I explained not this situation, but how when surrendering works. So you're here and then you get to here, but you're afraid to do this.
Yes.
And when you do this, everything that God has for you will start to come. You like this, and eventually you'll open a little bit, and that's because you might need to close it back up. But when you do this, God will provide.
And you can do this with tears in your eyes. I mean, symbolically, just, symbolically go and submit and surrender. This is the role. This is the position of surrender. Sometimes my meditations are just like this, as opposed to touching and grounding. It's like, I got to keep this open because this, I want to close it and pull it close to my chest and hide it, tuck it away. Don't touch me. Don't bother me. Don't hurt me. Yeah. And so this is such a beautiful, I don't know if you can see my hands, but this is such a beautiful place to be when you let go of toxic anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
It's the place to be. And it's simple, but not easy.
It's simple, but not easy. Oh, you guys. This was good. Thank you so much for suggesting this topic. I don't know if you could tell that Lisa wanted to know and had questions. And so that's why I chose this topic because of those questions that needed to be answered. This was really good. This is really good. Yes. We should touch on more things that we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
That we don't
hope it helps or it was affirming for the choice that you've been making on your journey. So
absolutely. I don't see anything else in the comment section. If you've met, Max says, hey y'all, I'm here. Better late than never.
Hey, Max.
So we're going to give you an assignment since you're late. Go back and watch. Really good information that you can use in any relationship, actually.
Any
relationship.
This is good for me too, because it helps me to evaluate and examine connections.
Right. And so this may be with adult siblings that you don't live with. This may be with your children. This may be with your partner in relationship. This may be in a friendship relationship.
On your job.
On your job. Because how we do relationship, how we were raised to do, and what the examples that we saw in relationships, we take it in every single that we have. We take it everywhere. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Thank you, girlfriend.
You are so welcome. You are welcome. This was so
This
good.
was
Thanks
good.
everybody for showing
Yeah.
up and supporting.
Yeah. And let me just apologize, but not okay. We haven't been on for a month. And so life happens. Can I just say life happens? Life is happening. Life has happened.
Life is happening.
But I appreciate the people that ask, like, where you been? Are you doing it this Tuesday? I haven't seen you. And some people may not have realized right away. But then when they did, like 2 weeks later, it's kind of, wait, hold on. I haven't seen you. And so I say to that life happens, and I cannot get on. We cannot get on here and say, take care of yourself and do this for yourself. And
right.
Do the same. And we don't do the same. I will try and do a better job at putting something out to say, hey, we're not on today. See you next time. But sometimes you can't even do that.
Are people popping on here?
Yeah. Jacqueline Milton enjoyed the discussion. Thank you, Jackie. Christine Brown. Hello, Christine.
Oh, hey, Chris, my sister.
I know, girl, your sister killing it. Killing it in the beauty, that girl. She doing it in the fashion department. Can I tell you? I got on your site, Chris, that you told me about. I absolutely did yesterday. As soon as you told me, I got on there and I found me some stuff. And thank you very much. So. Thank you guys. So please go ahead, go back and look at it again. It's going to be on my page, and then it'll be on YouTube as well. You're welcome, Chris. It's going to be on YouTube as well. So go ahead and check it out. Even in the you going to look at the recording, share that too. Share. Right. It would be great to have numbers, but I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with numbers only in the case where we are sharing with enough people so they get the information.
Right.
You want to make sure the people are getting the information. So
absolutely
share it on your page. If you have a YouTube, go look us up on YouTube and share it again. For sure. And be here in 2 weeks, and we don't know what we're talking about because
we don't know.
We what we're going to talk about. Or somebody asks a question about something and need clarity. That's how we figure out what we're going to
talk about. Sarita asked a question. So
and if she's not on, I'm not sure if she's on, but I'm going to call her and ask her what it is. And that will be what we will be talking about next time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. So I am Michelle Bird, your mental health therapist. You can find me on Heads Up Mental Clarity on Facebook, Michelle Bird. It was Michelle Wallace Bird. I changed it. It's Michelle D. Bird. You can find me on Instagram, Mrs. Bird LPC. You can find me on a lot of things. Psychology Today, Michelle Bird. You can find me everywhere. One of those places. And Stephanie, my dear friend, thank you for coming on, and you tell the people where they can find you.
Psychology Today, Stephanie McCain, and Facebook is Stephanie Stevens McCain, and Instagram S McCain MFT.
Thanks.
And Lamplight Counseling Services.
I forgot to say that ChicagoCounseling.com. Yep. Yeah. You can find us everywhere. Thank you, guys. Thank you for chiming in. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Events, right? Okay. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Have a great night.